Mwebale okusasula omusolo ne tukulaakulanya eggwanga. The children are going to school for free. Roads have been constructed. Ebyobulimi bitutumuse, obutale weebuli. Abakyala tebakyazaalira mu mbeera mbi ng'ey'edda.
We have electricity. Businesses are being supported. Uganda Airlines ekomyewo. I'm proud to be Ugandan.
We celebrate you.
Oh, we celebrate you.
Taxpayers of Uganda. We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Uganda together. Mukoze omulimu. Mwebale kusasula. Tusiime mwebale nnyo.
Thank you for paying your taxes.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Mugasha, did you see the game last night?
I slept looking for a receipt. Up to now, I'm still looking for it.
What kind of receipt?
There is a certain receipt. I need to file my returns. I'm trying to find it.
By the way, do you know these guys of URA asked for 3 million from me?
Me, I paid 500,000 only.
You mean you pay only 500,000?
Yes.
They asked for 3 million.
Acquiring a tin is now easier than ever before with a new interface that is brief, simple, and cuts out all the excess fields from previous applications. All you need is your national ID or driver's license or passports and internet access, and you're good to go. No more waiting in long queues, as you can now acquire a tin instantly from wherever you are. Remember, it's free. Experience our new and improved modern interface that is user-friendly.
Thank you for paying your taxes.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
That's my little angel Rose. Together with millions of other children, my daughter Rose is assured of learning something new every day. Moses, my husband, just like many other commercial farmers, has his business supported so he can provide for us. When my other little one was on the way, even with my pregnancy complications, it was a quick, smooth ride to Mulago Specialized Women and Neonatal Hospital. Also, my new baby was able to make it through his first days with the help of specialized equipment thanks to the reliable electricity which has also been extended throughout the country. All this and more has been made possible because of you.
Join us and together let's do more for our country. Get your free tin instantly at www.ura.go.ug.
Thank you for paying your taxes.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a special day because we are going to look at something very interesting, something that has become the talk of town amongst taxpayers. Remember in the 2017-2018 budget speech, when the minister talked about something known as the voluntary disclosure. It's what we are going to talk about today. My name is Jotham. You're most welcome. And today on our panel, we would like to welcome Mr. Tony Kalungi. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jotham. I'm happy to be here.
You're most welcome. And he's our colleague in the board, in the legal services and board affairs. Thank you so much for joining us. And our viewers, please feel free to bring in the questions as much as you need to hear from us. He's ready, Mr. Tony is ready to answer all the questions that you feel need to be really answered. today. I'm going to give him a chance to give us a word or two, and then we really dive into today's topic. Certainly.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Jotham. Good morning to our viewers, taxpayers, and all citizens of Uganda. Today is a good day. We are going to be talking about voluntary disclosure. And it's to be here. We are going to first answer the questions asked, and then if you have any, we'll also answer the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. What I know, this voluntary disclosure comes with the will of a taxpayer, without coercion. That's what I understand about this. And there are terms and conditions in this voluntary disclosure. Our taxpayer would like to know, in particular, what is voluntary disclosure in the bigger picture?
Well, thank you for that. The bigger picture is voluntary disclosure is when we need to talk about who makes it. It's when a taxpayer comes to Uganda Revenue Authority and they are not forced, they are not trying to preempt URA from unearthing something it's already doing. When they come on their own, they come and inform URA. They inform URA of the misdeeds they have been doing with their tax compliance. After informing URA of those misdeeds, then they follow the process of filing the form, paying the taxes, and then they would be entitled to interest and penalty waiver.
So it is like repenting tax sins.
True.
Ah,
That's it.
amazing.
Before judgment day.
So the judgment day will be the time when the taxman comes to your premises and unearths something that is not really good. In one of the articles by Grant Thornton, they say that it has been put in place to encourage taxpayers to come forward willingly without us going to them, and it has really been quite helpful to the taxpayer. And what does the taxpayer really disclose in this? Is it a wide range? Is it just
Thank you for that. Well, the taxpayer voluntary, it is limited to misstatements, misdeeds. So you may be doing a lot of things, your compliance. We don't want to know how you've complied. We want to know the negatives.
misdeeds?
So you tell us the offenses you've committed as per the tax laws. You tell us how you've omitted by not doing something, or how you've done something that is contrary to the law. So that is what you disclose. You disclose the negative. Yes, that is basically what you disclose, the taxpayer.
So is this in particular something that came up in the Ugandan law, or it has been practiced elsewhere, where maybe we borrowed a leaf or something like that?
In other jurisdictions, voluntary disclosure has been existing. Actually, even if you stretch in biblical time, there is an element of voluntary disclosure, repentance. You repent, they allow you, they let something go. You go to the court system, you report yourself, you agree to the offense early, they will not penalize you more. But for tax purposes, other jurisdictions like the US, Canada, their system is well developed. Now Uganda also picked a leaf because and our tax system has been changing. We started from where we chase the taxpayers, graduated tax. We find you have not paid, then issues arise. But research was done with the need to call for what we call self-assessment systems, whereby the taxpayer themselves do their own affairs and they report to the tax collector. After reporting, that's when the tax collector either verifies or does so. So in the process of self-assessment, it was discovered that in collecting taxes, you don't need to use the stick. You can also use the carrot. You can also entice taxpayers to come on their own and file. So in the same doing, they were encouraged. As far as 2017, we had a section that deals with compounding of offenses. And in there, section 66(1)(a), there was an amendment inserted that if at all a taxpayer has come on their own. They should not be treated as the taxpayers who we chase. So with that, section 66(1)(a) came into play, and it stated that if a taxpayer comes on their own and they disclose an offense to the Commissioner General, if they fulfill the conditions therein, they should be entitled to waiver of interest.
So before we go to the terms and conditions, that means the whole program as a voluntary disclosure has been totally backed by law ever since it was. Is there any other country in Africa that practices such a thing?
Yes, it is. If not at all, because it is so common that it's even encouraged internationally. Maybe the question will be which countries don't practice voluntary disclosure. I've not come across any, but most of the countries practice voluntary disclosure.
So
Just that for them, they go far. They have regulations. Us in Uganda, we only have one section and interpretations that have been made on that and guidelines by URA. But other countries have specific regulations.
So now what are the terms? A Karunji comes, what are the terms and conditions that he has to fulfill before he's really considered that he's voluntarily disclosing his misdeeds?
Thank you for that. The voluntary disclosure must be full and complete. You don't come and you say, I have not been compliant with my taxes. You need to go further and tell us which particular tax head, for what period, and how have you not complied. Did you file something different, or you didn't file, or you filed something full and complete? Then also the disclosure itself must be accurate. Don't lie and you say that I've only failed to do this. Tell us everything. That's all you want to deal with. So then the time at which you do it matters. Don't wait when URA has already come, then you make it. You must make it before the matters get hot. You must make it before URA comes. You must make it before URA requests for information. You must make it before there is a whistleblower or one informer that has informed on you. You must make it before court proceedings.
So how can the taxpayer know? Because if you say if an informer has whistleblown on you, now let's say I come. I don't know if any whistleblower has really come, but me I come and I'm like, I think I've been not doing things right. How do you consider such a person?
In the process, we normally we give you a response whether your voluntary disclosure has been considered. And the reasons therein will give you that, oh, you have told us that you have not been complying, but you are already new on the basis of this, either on our audit or an informer or something that information was already within our possession. So we inform you that your application for voluntary disclosure will be successful.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. Dear viewers, please keep the questions coming in, and we are hopeful. The conversation is still ongoing. What are the benefits of this to the taxpayer?
Thank you. Financially, the benefits are that your baggage is reduced. Tax is made up of components, 3. There is normally the principal tax, interest, and penalty. Now, when you voluntarily disclose, you only pay the principal tax. The penalty and interest is waived. So that those will be the first benefits. You don't pay penalty. You don't pay interest. And for some tax heads like VAT that have compounded interest, it is not unusual for your interest to accumulate more than the principal or to be at the same level within a short period of time. So you only pay the principal, interest, and penalty are waived. Those will be the two. Then also the other issues are you start on a clean slate and your tax affairs are in order. Most taxpayers will apply for tax clearance certificates. They may seek benefits like withholding tax exemption, and the reasons those benefits will be denied will be because they have issues in courts. So when you voluntarily disclose, you become afresh. You're clean.
You're baptized
so you
in taxation.
Benefits, yeah. Then also the relationship, after the process is carried out, you get to know what you need to do properly, because they will normally advise you after voluntary disclosure that, oh, you ought to have done this, maybe your return should be filed by this time. So you get to learn. It is a learning process. And with that, those are the benefits that taxpayers get from the process of voluntary disclosure. Then the extreme one is that there are offenses whereby the matter can end up in prosecution, whereby what you've committed, URA does not only want your money, does not want you to only pay the taxes. They take you to anti-corruption court, they charge you, and they are praying for imprisonment. So to save you from that criminal record on you as a person, or as, for instance, an employee, yes, you get that all of that is waived when you voluntarily disclose.
Oh, okay. So we have talked about this, and how does a Tony wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to voluntarily disclose? What is the process? Walk us through that process, step by step.
Thank you for that. The process, the Commissioner General issued guidelines on how it is done, but the process, the simple one, is you go to www.ura.go.ug. You go online, the URA homepage, you download the form. There is a voluntary disclosure form. After you've downloaded the form, you fill in the form. Now that form, when you download it, it directs you on what to do. But normally you'll fill in your particulars, how much you've disclosed, which offense you've committed, any documents you have. Then you send back the form by an attachment, or if there are other documents you need, you also attach them and you share the form. Now, having done that, you have to, in addition, go and make payment. After you've made the payment, then you wait for the response from the Commissioner General. But simply, you go online and you download the form. But then also, we have to be aware that for some reason, if at all you can't, if you wrote a letter to the Commissioner General attaching everything, that will also be considered. But we encourage online applications.
Yeah. Okay. And someone has sent through a question. Is payment a prerequisite to the consideration of a taxpayer's disclosure?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, according to Section 66(1)(a) of the Tax Procedure Code Act, it is drafted in a way that on your own, you must pay. But what you pay for is what we need to highlight. You only pay the principal.
What has been highlighted is what you pay.
You need to pay. If you don't pay the principal, then you cannot have your application considered. Of course, there could be issues of, okay, this money and so on, but you have to pay the principal. Then if you need help on paying of the principal, you can still procure other intercessions or interventions by the CG by paying the principal in installment, but you have to pay the principal. It is a prerequisite. Because even in accounting, when the principal still exists, the penalty and interest keep on accumulating. So you have to extinguish the principal. Yeah.
So that you can extinguish the others. So does what in particular does the taxpayer really need to explain within their disclosure? Because we have talked about very many things, but the taxpayer would like to know what in particular should he or she highlight in their disclosure.
Hey, thank you. You need to tell us who you are, your particulars. You tell us, this is my name, it's on the form, your TIN, and particulars, what business you engaged in. Then you tell us the period that you want to disclose. You can say between 2020 to 2022, that is the period. Then you tell us the offense you committed. You can say, I provided false, as an example, I provided false or misleading information to a taxpayer, or I didn't file a return, or I may be forged this, and so on. After providing that, you tell us how you come to the conclusion that what you did was wrong. So you may then attach documents and you say, whereas my sales were 100 million, I declared sales of 20 million. Then you attach documents. These are the receipts of my actual sales. this is maybe the return file that has that information. So that is the information we need. But briefly, your particulars, the offense committed, and the supporting documents to make you fulfill the full disclosure and accurate requirement.
So now, with all that said, does disclosure trigger an automatic audit by URA?
I would say the disclosure does not trigger an automatic audit. The information you provide will be verified depending on your disclosure to see if you pass. But to encourage people to disclose, they should not worry that once you disclose,
you're going to be audited.
URA gets you and it's like, oh, this is the company we have been looking for. They disclose. No. It does not trigger that automatic audit. So there is no need to worry. Just that the information has to be verified for the periods you've provided. Yes. And then also those under audit should not fear to disclose. If the audit that URA is carrying on is for a specific period and there is a period they have not yet touched, you can also
disclose the period they haven't touched.
Yeah.
So if you disclose something they are already touching, then that doesn't count.
True, you don't count because you've already the information. URA is already on its way to find out the same information, and your disclosure will be an afterthought. They have come and then you want to, so you're abusing the process. It has to be voluntary. You must not be
it shouldn't be reactive disclosure. Oh, okay. Dear viewers, please keep the questions coming in, and as we continue with this webinar, Tony, please tell us what is the limit of how far back the disclosure can be? Is it limited to, let's say, 3, 5, 10, 15 years or something like that? Is there a period which we look at and say that within this period now this disclosure won't work, or your disclosure works as far back as?
Yeah, thank you. The law does not provide a time limit generally. Does not say that you must disclose this information for this period. That is the law. But maybe in analysis of the laws, we could come to a few pointers. For instance,
those pointers.
Yes, in 2017, that's when the law came up. But still, you can disclose before. Then, if you look at some of the laws, for instance, of the taxes to be paid, maybe the inception of the Income Tax Act, the VAT Act, excise duty can also guide you on the issue. And then also you may need to know that there is a finance bill of 2008 that at least took care of the same issue. And said that if it's 2002, if there was any liability, be it principal, interest, and penalty by 2002 that had not yet been paid as of 2008, it was also waived. So, but generally, the simple answer is there is no limit. But you may not need to disclose, because if at all you're disclosing taxes that were before 2002 and the same were waived, that is not an issue. But that only concerns taxes. Now, when it comes to offenses, because disclosure is tricky, there is a tax element, but then there are also offenses. For the offenses, then there is no limit. There is no limit. Period.
So what other thing could be hidden in this program? The taxpayer would like to know. There are terms and conditions, but as like the way we say banks, a bank can say terms and conditions apply, but then they give you the terms, but as you go on, there are other conditions. So what are some of those that the taxpayer can look out for and say, I may go here when I'm literally totally off board and my thing is not accepted?
True. The general ones are that if at all URA is already in the know then you won't pass. If at all the taxes you want to be waived, maybe the penalty and interest were already issued to you because of failure to file documentation or file a return, then you will not pass because it is already there.
You're being
the
reactive.
Default assessment, and you want to waive that. Then if URA is auditing you, you will not pass. If URA has sent you a letter requesting for information, may tell you give us this information, your bank account for this period, you may not pass. Then if at all we receive internationally, because they are companies that associates or holding and subsidiaries. You could be one company, but your directorship and shareholding is connected to another. Maybe you're part of a group. If at all you're disclosing, make sure that for those transactions you disclose as a whole.
You
one
disclose
group member can bring issues to the other.
So you have to disclose the whole thing for the whole group.
Yes, if there are
companies.
irregularities, don't only disclose for one associated entity, disclose for the whole. Because the reason behind that is if we begin on one associated entity and maybe the transactions cut across, we don't want you to use this entity to be the one to bear all the tax burden and get all the exemptions. No, you are by looking at the associate, it will also come and look at the other. Then you have to make sure that it is also discretionary. So your conduct also matters. Your conduct also matters. It's not mandatory that come what may it will be done. So you must be very cooperative. If they only a simple letter that for this period I did these irregularities, and then you give more work to URA to handle, that will not pass. Then also you have to pay the principal tax. But as an encouragement, it can save you criminal prosecution.
So since this program started, the taxpayer would like to know the statistics. How many companies so far have really? You can just give us a broad figure of how many companies have so far.
And I may not have the statistics right now offhand, but throughout voluntarily, I think in the press that was released last year, we were able to collect more taxes without us using the stick,
coercion,
by using the carrot. That's what I would give. And then also the other thing to encourage people to voluntarily disclose is that when you come and voluntarily disclose, we do not put your dirty linen in the public. We will not issue a press that this company that has been cheating taxes has come and it has told us this. No, there is that element of whereby we are either confidential in that information and so on, but companies are coming up, they are disclosing, and then they are getting the benefits.
Okay, dear viewers, please continue bringing in the questions, and as we plan to wind down our webinar, and how will the taxpayer know that their tax sins have been forgiven? How do they really know that now my tax sins have been forgiven?
Thank you. We'll give you a certificate. That certificate is called the Voluntary Disclosure Certificate. It's where the Commissioner General is informing you that pursuant to your voluntary disclosure of this period and fulfilling the conditions by paying this principal tax, interest of and penalty of this much or this particular offense, have all agreed to be compounded and waived respectively. So we give you a certificate. You get a response from the Commissioner General. So when you write, you wait and the response comes to you. But then also, even if it's not successful, you receive a response.
So how long does the taxpayer really need to wait to see that response come through? Is there a stipulated time that within this period of time, you'll have to, let's say a month, 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days. Some give the taxpayer that image of if I really put in my disclosure, what happens?
Under the law, there is nothing in mandatory terms of when you'll get
Period.
it, but internally, you are in the aim of encouraging taxpayers to pay and fully collect taxes and encouraging voluntary disclosure. Within 2 weeks, you ought to receive a response. Of course, this is dependent on how you disclose. We may request for additional information or explanations, but normally within 2 weeks or less, you'll receive your response. So it depends on how you've drafted your voluntary disclosure.
The deeper the explanation, the easier,
Yes.
the easier the response. So is there any special office? Let's say something was put aside for people to come and voluntarily disclose.
Internally, it will be the business policy unit or division of the domestic taxes. But the way the process is drafted, the taxpayer need not worry. What you do online, just download the form from the portal, send it to services@ura.go.ug. The response will come
with all the
with
attachments.
all everything. Right to the Commissioner General, the response will come. Internally, URA will deal with it. Then you receive a call or any request from the unit internally. So you need not rush to come and be like, oh, straight away. If you come well and good, but any office, even if you're up country, go to any office of URA, submit it there. Internally, we need to make the process easier for you, and we did that. But it's business policy.
So it is definitely easier for the taxpayer to embrace the technology. URA has been able to make the portal so easy for you to navigate and have these things done for you. And you can easily download this document and again submit. Just at your services.ura.go.ug. So what are the consequences? Definitely there's a wide range of consequences for something, not to go on, but what would be the consequences of someone not voluntarily disclosing?
Now the consequences are the other side of the coin. If you do not voluntarily disclose, you will be prosecuted for that offense, and all the elements or bad things of prosecution will follow you. If you're an individual, you'll be taken to anti-corruption, you'll be prosecuted, you could go to jail, and then you will have a criminal record. Then also, even if you're a director of a company, you may think you're shielded by the limited liability shield, but under the tax laws, the director can be held liable for criminal acts of a company. So you personally will be taken to anti-corruption and you'll be prosecuted. Then secondly, there will be issues of penalty and interest. There are people who have the principal tax maybe of 1 billion, but then the interest can also measure up to 1 billion if at all you delay for long. So if you don't disclose, those elements come into play. So you end up paying double or more tax, because most of the penalties for failure to do an act are more. For instance, you don't file a return of VAT, 200k, or if you don't, or double the tax that you ought to have paid, whichever is there. You don't come higher. So you need to avoid that. And how do you avoid that? You need to voluntarily disclose. Then also your image. You will apply for some things. You'll be bidding for work, and they will ask you for a tax clearance certificate. You will not get it if you have not settled your tax issues. And one of the ways to settle those tax issues is by voluntary disclosure. You will ask for an exemption from a specific withholding tax, then they will also refuse to give it to you. Then also your image. Now in other countries, it is interesting how far. I think we had the case, since you asked earlier, on how far it goes. And the public there started distancing themselves from Starbucks. As a result, Starbucks made a lot of losses in the UK because of non-paying taxes. So even in Uganda, if you're a person who does not pay taxes, who has tax issues, people will not want to be associated with you. There are people who will, skilled labor won't come and accept to be employed by you because of your tax issues, because they fear. Suppliers will not want to deal with you if you have tax issues, so your business will suffer. Then also in society, you will be the one with problems, you will be looked at. It is not allowed. And even biblically, they will tell you, as Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Yes. So you need to comply with taxes. So it has all those connotations if you don't voluntarily disclose.
So it is a two-faced human being, or a being, a two-faced being, that you don't do one thing, the other happens. You do this, the other happens. Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you so much, our viewers. We believe so much has been covered in this. However, now with voluntary disclosure, some people are really worried that after them disclosing, you'll come now digging into the present to see if they have really complied. Now, how do you really handle that for the present? Because someone may disclose for the past, and now you come for the present.
If of course, we would encourage you to declare a trigger. We will not come and we begin disturbing you unless we have reason to do so. So there is no,
it could be part of the reason still. Couldn't it be
that you have voluntarily disclosed? We need to also come and check that period. No, that one will be, how do they call it? It will be witch hunting. So URA does not behave that way. Actually, currently we have our Commissioner General and other commissioners at ETAF. They're talking about the human face of taxation. And one of the principles therein is, and I also quote from the Kenyan Vice President, you don't, the cow you're milking, feed it. Then you don't kill the cow that you're milking. So we not want to
kill the businesses and kill the business.
And we also put the laws there in, we live in a self-assessment system. That system of graduated tax ended. So the burden is on you. If you're supposed to file a return and your company maybe every half year, then that's it. If you're an individual every quarter, do that. We give you the process. We only come in to issue an administrative or additional assessment if at all there are discrepancies within your returns, if at all you have not filed, if at all we are prompted by other information. But not because you have voluntarily disclosed. No, we'll only verify the information and leave it to be.
So apart from that, are there any levels of voluntary disclosure that someone looks up to and says, now for me to be safe, I need to be at this level, or I need to be at?
So it's just general.